you can count on us. This is 7 News Good Morning Fort Sill.
Good morning and thanks for joining us as we bring you another week of local, national, and international military news. Dan Threlkeld has the next few days off, so it's just a two-man show for the time being. Meteorologist Ulysses Garcia is here. Ulysses, it was a bit of a noisy start to this morning.
Absolutely, Kyle. Yes, we had a good thunderstorm that made its way through Lyon. Not severe here in Lyon, but we have been tracking some thunderstorms throughout the evening and throughout the overnight hours that have been severe limits, especially overnight. It had been more so into Texas, while during the evening hours it was more into Oklahoma when Michael was here. Now, checking out what's happening right now, we do have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for eastern portions of Jack County. That will actually be expiring here at 4:45. 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts along with quarter-size hail. It actually did have ping pong ball size hail earlier, so it has been weakening, but we're also tracking a line of showers and storms that's making its way from Wichita Falls all the way down just pretty much to that where that severe thunderstorm warning is making its way through. Something we'll be tracking is these storms over towards the Wichita Falls area to see if they weaken or if they intensify. Yesterday's almanac, though, 91 degrees, 68 for the low temperature, 99 degrees was the normal temperature for this time of the year, 72 for the low. We also did get some rain during the morning hours, so about a half an inch from yesterday. And that's pretty much just going to actually more rain than what we got in the month of July. We only had 0.12 in July, so pretty much 4 times the amount. And looking over towards our Ashley Home Store Tower Cam in Burke Burnett, we're dealing with quiet conditions here at this hour. However, they're looking at your morning PT forecast, 66 degrees. And as we make our way through the next couple of hours, we'll see our temperatures pretty much hover into those upper 60s before we start warming things up. But drier weather is on the way. We'll talk about some hot temperatures returning as well. We'll break it all down in just a bit.
Let's hit our top stories, starting with President Trump, who has ordered 2 nuclear submarines to be moved to strategic areas in case of an attack. The move comes after former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev made comments about the country having Soviet-era nuclear strike resources. Current Russian President Vladimir Putin announced Friday that Russian military forces are advancing along the entire line of contact in Ukraine. President Trump has said his foreign envoy, Steve Witkoff, will travel to Russia in the coming days as he calls for an end to the conflict. In Texas, Governor Greg Abbott has signed multiple bills into laws over the weekend to make lives of veterans easier. Senate Bill 1814 instructs the Texas Veterans Commission to establish and maintain an electronic database of contact information for service members leaving active duty to access resources available to veterans. Senate Bill 1818 requires Texas licensing agencies to immediately issue a provisional license recognizing the out-of-state licenses of military service members, veterans, and military spouses. Meanwhile, House Bill 114 consolidates responsibility of several veteran-related programs from the Texas Health and Human Services Commission to the Texas Veterans Commission. And a man was killed while trying to force his way on the Davis-Monthan Air Force Base in Arizona over the weekend. Base officials say the man failed to identify himself at the base's main gate and proceeded onwards, crashing into a barrier before being shot by security forces. Medical examiners have identified the man as Jonathan Rogers. Family members say Rogers suffered from type 1 diabetes and would occasionally get the wrong dose of insulin, which would lead to confusion and delusion. Air Force veterans say the security forces did exactly what they were trained to do.
It happens very seldom, but those guys and gals have to be on alert 24/7. There are no second chances. When somebody tries to penetrate the base.
Davis-Monthan Air Force Base Command says they regret the loss of life and praise security forces for doing their job to protect installation security and the safety of their airmen. The incident remains under investigation. On Fort Sill, around 350 soldiers from Bravo Battery 131st and Gulf Battery 131st graduated in a ceremony on post last week. They'll now head to advanced individual training schools to train for a wide range of jobs, including artillery, medical, and many more. We'd also like to recognize a pair of distinguished honor graduates. Private First Class Aiden Urbano of New Jersey is the honor grad for Bravo 131. He will serve in the Army National Guard. Meanwhile, the honor graduate for Gulf 131 is Private First Class Ina Jashinsky from Wisconsin. She'll serve in the Army Reserves. Shepherd Air Force Base's Petroleum, Oils, and Lubricants Schoolhouse tested a brand new fuel bladder designed for the aerial bulk fuel delivery system, which allows for rapid fuel delivery to remote and forward deployed locations. Now, this updated bladder enhances safety, durability, and efficiency in airborne fuel operations. The new system is already greenlit for operational use. 364th TRS is also developing curriculum to train the next generation of airmen on the critical upgrade. Altus Air Force Base teamed up with multiple Army paratrooper units for the Devil Avalanche live fire exercise at Pope Army Airfield in North Carolina late last month. Airmen from the 58th Airlift Squadron flew out in a C-17 Globemaster III aircraft, conducting gear and paratrooper uploads and drops with the 82nd Airborne Division's 1st Brigade Combat Team, while also helping the U.S. Army counterparts gain valuable experience in loading equipment. Taking a look at some upcoming community events, Fort Sill Directorate of Emergency Services as well as USO are inviting you out to the National Night Out tomorrow. Events get underway at 5 p.m. They'll last until 7:30 at the USO building on Fort Sill. You'll get a chance to meet your local police, firefighters, and EMS. There will be plenty of emergency vehicles and equipment on display, as well as music, games, and family-friendly activities. For more information, you can contact USO at the number on your screen. And you and your four-legged family members are invited to come take a dip at the Bunker Hill Pool at Shepherd Air Force Base this month. The Dog Days of Summer will be held August 17th from 4 until 6 p.m. The cost is $1 per pooch, and every dog must have their rabies tag or proof of vaccine. Shepherd Air Force Base is also wanting you to bring out your inner child at their Nerf gun competition. Now, the event takes place this Saturday from 3 until 5 p.m. at the flag football field by the fitness center. It's $10 per person to participate, and you can call the Commons at Shepherd Air Force Base to get registered. AMVETS Post 11 has a new location in Duncan. A grand opening ceremony for the new facility, which is located on South 10th Street, was held over the weekend. It's named after the Post's first female commander, Betty J. Wood. The new building will serve as the home to Post meetings, resource fairs, Quilt of Valor presentations, and much more. The Post was even honored with a proclamation from the Duncan mayor.
We would like to thank all the volunteers and sponsors and donors and the City of Duncan for their help and assisting us throughout this process. Our post has been in Duncan since 1983, and we'll continue to provide help and support to our veterans and their families and our community throughout the ages.
AMVETS Post 11 organizes and participates in numerous civic and patriotic events each year. Still ahead, one of the nation's oldest military forces is celebrating their birthday today. We'll take a look back at the founding of the Coast Guard when Good Morning Fort Sill returns.
Every evening, 7 News is uncovering breaking stories that impact Texoma. 7 News, working for you every night at 5 and 6. Stay connected to 7 News wherever you are. Download all 3 for free. Here's your first alert forecast with meteorologist Ulysses Garcia.
Welcome back, everyone. We still have that severe thunderstorm warning over parts of Jack County, but for the most part, most of that is already beginning to push just off our viewing area. So this will expire in just a mere minutes here, but we are still tracking some thunderstorms that are making their way from Wichita Falls and point southeast, making its way towards the Jacksboro area. So something we'll be tracking to see if they do become severe. Hopefully not. Hopefully this will be the last severe thunderstorm warning we deal with from this train of storms that we had going back into the evening hours. You can see the lightning, though, here on our Duncan Regional Hospital tower cam in Duncan. That's mainly pointing off towards the east when it comes to those storms, making their way through parts of central Oklahoma. Temperatures right now, 60s where the rain has fallen, 63 degrees in Elk City, 66 in Line, 69 in Wichita Falls, where the rain has not fallen off towards the southwest into the lower 70s. Looking at the setup right now, we do have a trough, and notice how these storms that we had throughout the evening hours, most of it is now making its way closer towards the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Out towards the tropics, though, we do have Tropical Storm Dexter, 45 miles an hour. This will become a fish storm that's going to continue to meander over the Atlantic over the next couple of days, so no concern for the U.S. Here closer to home, a few lingering showers possible throughout this morning. After that, sunshine this afternoon. We'll keep it dry as we go through the next couple of days. For your PT forecast, 66 right now. We'll hold it in the 60s here throughout the next couple of hours before warming things up into the 70s. And looking at that 7-day forecast, we're going to see those temperatures beginning to warm up as we get drier, eventually triple digits as early as Thursday.
Well, many current and former service members battle PTSD and mental health issues. In Tennessee, community members teamed up with the nonprofit organization Operation Angel Wing to bring awareness to that fight.
This is a community call to action where we have an amazing group of veterans, first responders, veterans' families, and citizens that want to be supportive of all this.
Dozens of community members joining together to bring light to those who are suffering from mental health problems. This all through Operation Angel Wing.
It is an organization that helps with primarily first responders and veterans who've suffered some form of mental trauma, and we try to, a lot of them might have suicidal tendencies, and try to walk them through the path to finding recovery.
A 6-mile walk starting at Norris Dam, carrying gear, flags, and support for those in need of help.
It is also a prayer walk, so many of us are carrying prayer stones where we're carrying someone that we're remembering and praying for along the way. And this is a collaboration of nonprofits and organizations that are truly dedicated to mental health, to supporting our first responders, our military members, our protectors.
The ruck ended at the Museum of Appalachia. For some, such as Scott Saylor, he went through the program. Now he works there as an instructor, helping others get back on their feet.
I did it as a client, to see where I came out, from drooling on the floor to watching other people just, I do it every day kind of thing, just dealing with friends of mine who are going through problems. I've learned how to help them, guide them, certain breathing techniques that we use to help deal with anxiety and so on and so forth. It's just a wonderful thing.
Scott is not a veteran and was not a first responder, just a person who had gone through so much and found help through Operation Angel Wing. He encourages others who are struggling to seek help.
All you're doing is coping. You're masking the symptoms, and I was able to, and this is what we help people do, is deal with the issues for, point blank, instead of throwing medication or alcohol or anything like that over it, which just masks it.
This day in military history, on August 4th, 1790, the United States Cutter Service was enacted when President George Washington signed the Tariff Act at the recommendation of Alexander Hamilton, the Secretary of the Treasury. Congress authorized 10 vessels to enforce tariff and trade laws and to prevent smuggling. In 1915, the Cutter Service emerged with the Life Saving Service to become what is now known as the U.S. Coast Guard. The Coast Guard is one of the oldest organizations of the federal government, and until the Navy Department was established in 1798, it served as the nation's only armed force afloat. Still to come, the Pentagon is preparing to test its Golden Dome air defense system. Coming up, how it's readying to prepare the friendly skies above our country.
Stay connected to 7 News wherever you are. Download all 3 for free.
The Pentagon has scheduled its first major test of the Golden Dome missile defense system. That's President Donald Trump's vision for a multi-billion-dollar space-based shield that can protect the entire U.S. According to 2 sources familiar with the matter, the Phase 1 test is set for just before the 2028 election, which lines up with the president's pledge in May to have it done in 3 years. The Missile Defense Agency would carry out the testing. The president says once the Golden Dome is constructed, it will be capable of intercepting missiles from anywhere. A veteran-owned aerospace and defense company located in Colorado Springs is set to expand. ITS LLC is expected to bring 500 new high-paying jobs to the area. According to the Colorado Economic Office, the average wage of those jobs is expected to be more than $130,000 a year. The CEO of ITS is a veteran of the Air Force who says Colorado Springs is the perfect place for his company to continue to grow.
Singular purpose of building a culture, an environment that would allow us to recruit, develop, and retain top talent. And if we did that and did it really well, then that talent would be responsible for developing innovative solutions and driving really.
As you know, Colorado Springs is a proud military community. 5 installation bases, 90,000 veterans, 40,000 active members. So that brings a lot of the talent that many of these aerospace companies need.
ITS participates in the Department of Defense's Skill Bridge program and Hiring Our Heroes. Veterans make up 76% of the company's workforce. A museum in Council Bluffs, Iowa is dedicated to the military history of America's heartland. As Philip Catalfamo reports, the museum features decades worth of military artifacts from area veterans, and they're trying to keep the history of their service alive.
Planes on the ceiling, books, pictures, uniforms, and more all document Heartland history.
We have 5,000 artifacts in our collection and growing.
Relics of almost every major conflict in U.S. history, from the Civil War to the Middle East.
Most of our collection, though, is centered on the guys who originally formed the group, the Great Plains Wing, and they were World War II veterans.
The Midwest played an important role in the Second World War. When the war kicked off, the U.S. had a significant lack of pilots. A young woman from western Nebraska was one of many who stepped up.
Evelyn Sharp from Ord, Nebraska. Well, Evelyn had a pilot's license by 16 after she got a ride in an airplane at 14. And she was a leader in the Women's Air Service pilots during World War II.
Stories like Evelyn's live on here at the Great Plains Wing of the Commemorative Air Force Museum. 200 local donors from Iowa and Nebraska contributed items housed inside the building. It takes a lot to maintain this history, a cost of about $1,500 a month.
As a curator, I want the paper and magazines and uniforms to be around 10 years from now, which means we're going to keep the museum is generally between 62 and 72 degrees.
Another challenge is attracting a younger generation. While a fair number of visitors of all ages come by each year, it's up to the next generation to keep this local history preserved.
The event that we were all to age out and we didn't get more new young members, we'd be returning a few things that were loaned to us, but a lot of the collection that we have would probably move to our national headquarters museum and facilities in Texas, and it would be gone.
History that means a lot to Council Bluffs resident Gerald Ebsen.
I have a lot of stuff in the museum out here from World War I and World War II both. My grandparents, my dad, both stuff. In fact, this shirt, my dad worked on these planes during World War II.
Saturday, the GPW hosted its annual open house and pancake breakfast. It's an opportunity for all generations to experience this slice of history.
Good that you have kids to see that stuff, see that history. Because knowledge is very important for young children.
Despite a haze in the air, it was also a chance to take to the skies. A restored PT-19 took flight to showcase history.
Taking a look at your good news for military families or veterans going through a medical crisis. A new resource in the Chicago area may be able to ease the logistical and financial burden of getting treatment. The Fisher House Foundation officially dedicated its 100th Fisher House at the James A. Lavelle Federal Health Care Center. Fisher Houses offer critical housing and support to the military and veteran communities. Service members, veterans, their families, and their caretakers can stay at a Fisher House at no cost while their loved one receives treatment and or rehabilitation. It's similar to the care afforded to the families of sick children by the Ronald McDonald House or St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. A veteran from Augusta, Georgia is being hailed as a hero after stopping an unruly passenger from storming the cockpit of a Delta flight. Nicole Pruitt, a 26-year Army veteran, was going on a trip to meet her new grandson when she noticed something was off. According to Pruitt, the passenger started storming the cockpit and plane entrance, claiming God told her to leave the plane. When she saw no one else was going to stop the passenger, she stepped up to the plate.
All I can think about is 9/11. Like, I'm not even playing these games with this situation like here, not with my life at stake. Because, you know, at the end of the day, you don't know what people are going through, and you don't know what intentions are. So you have to label it for what you see it as. And to me, she was the threat.
The plane was rerouted back to Atlanta, where law enforcement got involved. The unruly passenger was taken into custody without incident.
Your first alert forecast with meteorologist Ulysses Garcia.
And when it comes to what's happening on radar right now, nothing severe. Tracking a couple thunderstorms that are making their way over from Wichita County to parts of Clay County, but most of these are sub-severe, and hopefully they continue this weakening trend here as we make our way through the next hour or so. Looking at what's happening over towards our Chickasha, Chamber of Commerce Tower Cam, and really things are quiet, especially over towards our Oklahoma communities, but definitely with those storms that we had throughout the evening hours, especially in Oklahoma, definitely could say the evening, those temperatures really dropped down to the 60s, lower 60s over towards Elk City, but where it was relatively dry, especially off towards the southwest, temperatures into the lower 70s, 71 in Quanah, 71 in Paducah, 68 in Wichita Falls, 66 here in Line. Looking at your dew points right now, definitely on the muggy side, so definitely those storms had that energy, some of that energy to fire here with numbers into the 60s. But as we look at future track here, as we make our way later on this morning, maybe still about a 20% chance of a shower or storm, and then that'll eventually fizzle out towards zero by this afternoon. Good amount of sunshine. Just remember, it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. Looking at your PT forecast, clear skies, 66 degrees. We'll see our temperatures in the 60s before warming things up into the 70s. As we go into tonight, we'll actually go to 70 degrees and mostly clear. And then looking ahead over the next 7 days, we're going to see those temperatures warming up into the triple digits, but also turning breezy Wednesday through Saturday.
You know what? I'll take this at low 90s today for sure.
Yeah, not too bad out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Looking forward to a nice day. All this going to be a little bit hotter the rest of the week. Yeah. Well, thanks for watching Good Morning Fort Sill.